Okay, this is the module on creating durable agreements, and this is a very helpful set of tools for when you're coming out of a timeout, when you've had an issue flare up, you've taken a timeout, you're going to get together and have a conversation. This is very helpful way of understanding what you're going to do after the timeout. It's also the 10th discipline in the 10 disciplines class. And as such, it is fairly complicated. It's actually complex because, and it's, although there aren't any more steps than there are in discipline number 9, it's complex insofar as there are lots of moving parts. The most significant of which is this: of the 10 disciplines, this is the only one that requires the participation of somebody else. All the rest of them you can do all by yourself. This one is one that you do with someone else. Now, they don't have to know the discipline for you to do it. You kind of have to have these steps in mind for you. So they don't have to have taken the class for it to be helpful, but it is helpful for you to kind of know what are the pieces that I need to do here. Now, when I say that, I'm going to describe this as though this is a very linear process, because you really can't teach a process except you go through it step by step. The reality is that these are all intertwining kind of sets of issues. And so practically speaking, you're probably never going to do these steps in order, but it helps to know what all of the steps are so that when you do them, you know what you what you left out, what you didn't go deep to enough depth with, so it didn't create enough clarity. So this is all about constructing durable relationships. The thing about durable agreements, the thing about durable agreements is that not all agreements are durable. Sometimes we make agreements we thought we made an agreement and it turned out to not be durable. And there are a number of reasons why this might be the case, but the primary one is that what we did was, when we had this conversation about making an agreement, what we actually did was we created a compromise. Now, compromise is better than no understanding at all, but a compromise is one in which we come to a place where it feels like we're both losing equally. We've both given up something for this to work. We're going to create harmony by I'll give up this if you give up that. And that means we're not all getting exactly what it is or most of what we need. This is not about creating what we need. This is about creating harmony in the relationship, which is necessarily going to be unstable. So if we're making compromises, that's not going to work in the long run. The second reason why what appears to be an agreement may not be stable is that it was actually not an agreement, but a demand. If I say to you, hey, I want you to do this, and you say, okay, I'm likely to think that we have an agreement when you just acceded to my demands. My brother's a heating and air conditioning contractor in Topeka, Kansas, but he does work all over the United States, mostly the Midwest. And he says there's a difference when he's talking to somebody about a job. There's a difference that he notices between people who live west of the Mississippi and those who live east of the Mississippi. If you talk to, and of course he lives west of the Mississippi, but he says when you have a conversation with somebody and you say, okay, here's how I want it to go, and they say, okay, what that means is I agree with you. When you have a conversation with somebody who lives east of the Mississippi and you tell them what you want and they say, okay, what that means is I heard you. It doesn't mean that there's an agreement. And so we're not constructing agreements the same way. So maybe because this was a compromise, not an agreement, and maybe because this was a demand, this is not going to turn into the durable agreement that we want. So assuming that this is not either of those, what we're going to do here is we're going to look at what is the event that triggered this. Something happened, and this is the event that caused us to understand that we are not on the same page. We're having an issue here. And this issue is about the fact that we see something differently. Now, the urgency with which we address this may be different for each of us. We may have a different sense of the urgency of this. But if it's really urgent to you and I don't really care about it, I'm not going to have any trouble having a conversation with you about it. So we want to respond to people's urgency. In fact, in some sense, the person who's most urgent should be the one who sort of leads the process. But an issue can also have a kind of intensity. And the intensity of the issue or of the conflict is a function of the interplay between to the degree to which we agree with each other and the degree to which we care about the issue. If we really see it differently and we both care about it, then this issue is going to have a relatively higher level of urgency. If we agree, we don't disagree, then okay, no problem. There's no conflict here. So the question is, how much do we disagree, and how important is it that we come to an agreement? Right? I may disagree about what color couch we're going to get, but I don't care. So you pick the couch you want. But if it's something we both really care about and we see it differently, then this is a conflict that's going to have a relatively higher level of intensity. Now, the conflict is happening in the context of a relationship that we have with each other. And so a part of the problem may be that we're not really in the same relationship. We're not defining the relationship in the same way here. And so there are these three different ways of framing a relationship such that we are balancing rights and responsibilities. And if we don't balance the rights and responsibilities, then things are not stable. So that's a part of what we want to do here, is we want to be able to create stability. In a fiduciary relationship, it's stable because the person who has the responsibility has the rights. In a reciprocal relationship, we're trading off. I have these rights because you have these responsibilities. But in a mutual relationship, we both have the same rights and responsibilities, which makes this a kind of relationship in which greater intimacy is possible, but it also makes coming to agreements more difficult because we each have an equal stake in what it is that we're going to do. All right. Now, we're going to have a conversation about this issue that we disagree about. This is the heart of creating a durable agreement. And so we're going to tease these three things apart. We got to be clear about what the issue is. We have to speak what is true for us, and we have to hear where the other's coming from and see their perspective as valid. So let's tease these apart a little bit. So we want to clarify the issue. What is the thing that we are talking about? What's the issue we're addressing? And is it the same thing for each of us? Because sometimes one person says, well, I've got a problem with this. Well, and the other person says, well, but remember when you did, and suddenly we're talking about something else. Now, we're only going to talk about one issue at a time. We can talk about that other things some other point. Right now, there's this event that happened that has brought things up for us. What is that event that happened in the context of our relationship? Now, we already know about this event is that when it happened, we made meaning of it in different ways because we're having a conflict. If we saw it the same way, there would be no conflict here. So each of us is having a relationship with the event such that we're making meaning about it. And if we're going to have this conversation, I have to be able to tell you what's going on with me. How did I see it? What was this like for me? Which means I've got to be able to do three things. I have to know how it affected me. What was going on in me when this happened? I have to have a way of languaging that. How can I talk about what was going on with me such that I have a reasonably good chance of communicating to you what was going on? Are you going to is it going to be understandable to you? And is it safe for me to actually tell you these things? Because it may be that what's going on with me, if I tell you what's going on, then things are going to blow up. So we each have to know what's going on with us, have a way of languaging what's going on with us, and feel safe. Now, my role here is not only to be able to tell you what's going on with me, I've got also to listen to what's going on with you when what's going on with you is that you see it differently than the way I see it about something that's important to me. And so I'm going to be anxious. I'm going to be distraught because you see it so differently. And it's going to make it very hard for me to hear you. So I have to be really grounded in my own experience. I need to be present to myself in such a way that my anxiety does not overwhelm me as I listen to what's true for you, and be present to you in my anxiety so well that I can mirror back to you what it is that you're saying, so that you recognize it as what it is that you're saying. So we each need to be able to do both talk about what's going on and listen to the other in such a way that we're going to make, build a relationship in which we get it, that we both get it. Right? So this is the central conversation that we need to be able to have. And this is the part that we'll need to go back to over and over again, because this is the hardest piece. Are we talking about the same thing? Are we really speaking our own truth? Does the other hear us? Do we hear each other? Do we validate each other? Can we mirror back what the other's saying such that we get where the other's coming from? It may be that as I'm listening to you talk about how you're understanding this, I think, yeah, that makes sense. And so I will come to see it the way you see it, or you may come to see it the way I see it. In which case, okay, now we're on the same page. But that's not necessarily going to happen. It doesn't have to happen for us to have a durable agreement. But we have to be able to hear each other such that we can get to a place where we figure out, okay, well, what is it we both need here? There's something that is a quality that's in the relationship, or might be in the relationship, that's missing, that we each need, that we both need. Now, this requires that we be able to distinguish between needs and wants. Now, what I want is something that's discrete. I want a cookie. I want a pay raise. I want my team to win the Super Bowl, whatever. There's things that I want that I either get or I don't get. So it's kind of a binary thing about wants. Needs are different. Needs are qualities of being. And I'm going to have more or less of it. I may feel more or less affection or support or trust or affirmation. So it's going to be, these are things that come and go that I want to move towards, but I'm never going to fully have what I need. So we have to be able to distinguish, what are we talking about here when we're making a distinction between needs and wants, right? So needs, as I'm talking about what I need, we can talk about them as actions. I can say, well, I just need to do something. That's a strategy. Strategies are important. At some point, if I'm going to get what I need, I've got to do something that's going to create what I need. But I don't start there. I may say, I need for you to. I need a particular outcome. I need something to happen, which is probably true. There's some outcome that I'm looking to create. But if that outcome happens, it's going to create what I need because it creates certain qualities in my life, in my relationship with you. So it's much more helpful to start with the qualities and move back to the action. Because we can worry about, well, what should I do? Well, it depends. What do you need? People hate that question because it's very hard for us to know what we need. But if I know what it is that I need, then my goal is to create that. And that's a way more powerful way of being. Okay, so what are our shared needs? What are we working to create together? And when we can get clear about what it is that we want to create together, then what we're going to do is we're going to make choices that move us towards what it is that we both need. We're each going to take a particular course of action. All right? So I want to give you an example here. I'm going to walk through this with a particular event. I'm going to start here with an event. I had a mother and son who were clients of mine some years back, and they were clients because they had a highly conflicted relationship and they wanted to be able to get along better. So they were coming to see me because they wanted to improve their relationship. And at one point, coming to my office, they got into a fight in the car. And it was great because, here's this, it's right here. This is what you want to deal with. It's right present at the moment. So what was the event? What happened? Well, mom's driving, but son is learning to drive, and dad's giving him driving lessons, and they're driving to a particularly dangerous stretch of highway, and mom says, this is a bad stretch here. You shouldn't go above 50 here. And son says, dad says it's okay to go 55. and small explosion in the car. And so they're fighting all the way in. So we're going to talk about, okay, what's going on? You know, they're very clear about their relationship. She's the mom, he's the son. He's not going to drive unless she says it's okay. So the authority is very clear in their relationship here. But the conversation then about the issue, when they're clarifying the issue, this whole thing started when mom says, don't go over 50, and son says, dad says it's okay to go 55. So that's the thing that they are working on. What's going on when they're each, in some sense, triggered by this? So mom starts, she speaks her own truth. She is, as it happens, an emergency room nurse. And so she sees kids come in on gurneys and go out on body bags. And so she's terrified about the fact that her son's going to be driving a car and putting himself and others at risk. So when he appears to her to be disagreeing with the safety limits that she sets, she's very worried that he's going to be behaving in an unsafe manner. For son, the issue is, I'm trying to figure out how to show up in my relationship with my parents. And my mom's telling me one thing and my dad's telling me something else. And I can't possibly be pleasing both of them if they're not saying the same thing. So they're each able to say to the other, oh, yeah, it makes sense. Son can say, it makes sense, Mom, that you're worried that I'm going to get hurt. And Mom can say, yeah, son, it makes sense that you're getting mixed messages from your dad and I, and that that's a problem for you. So when it gets down to what it is that they're going to create in terms of their shared need, son needs his parents to give consistent messages. Mom needs son to be healthy. Son needs to be healthy. You know, they both need the same things here. So the question becomes, what is it they're going to each do? What action are they going to take? So son, he's very clear, Mom, I'm going to do everything I can to be the safest driver that I can be because I don't want to get hurt and I don't want to hurt anybody else. And I promise you that I'm going to be paying careful attention to my driving. And Mom says, and when I get home, I'm going to talk to your dad about what it is we're doing when we're giving you mixed messages. Okay? So our capacity, you may need to blow this one up. Let me make this a little bigger on the screen here. So we started from a place of making meaning very differently about an issue that was important to each of us. And what we do with that then is we clarify the nature of the relationship. We agree on what is the event that brought it up for us. Who are we as in a relationship? What is the event? What did we each see? We're going to share with each other our perspectives. We're going to hear from each other what was true for them and validate them by mirroring it back to them. And then we're going to discover what it is that's the quality that's missing, and we're each going to make choices that are going to create what it is that we both need. Okay? So this is the 10th discipline. This is the action that you can take together after you've taken a time out. And this is something you can use at any point where it really feels important to come to a clear agreement when there's some way that you're sideways in a mutually significant relationship. All right? Take care.